And welcome back to Exiting the Huddle with Dan and Jacob. I'm Dan.
And I'm Jacob.
And we're here to talk to you about all the juicy college football news this week, starting with.
I'd honestly like to start off with that we have new mics so we don't sound like dog shit.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But we're going to be starting off with.
The college teams that are most helped or hurt by the new conference realignment.
And then we're going to be talking about SMU, the newest team in the ACC, how they got there.
And then, middle of the show, we're going to talk about the last year's statistics with the offense and defensive statistics of each of the top 10 teams.
That should be juicy. And then we'll be closing it off today with arguably our thing we are most hyped about, and that's college football 25 and all of the news that they just dropped. So let's jump right in.
Absolutely. So first on the agenda for this beautiful July 7th is who is most hurt and most helped by conference realignment.
Based on this article, the New York Giants,
Yeah.
because that was the first thing that popped up.
So who do you think is hurt more in the conference realignment out of, let's say, the Big 12?
Who's hurt out of the Big 12?
Yeah. Who, with all of these new teams joining in the Big 12, do you think is hurt the most?
Like the new teams joining in.
Oh, out of all the teams now in the Big 12.
Well, I think Oklahoma State's going to be reeling a little bit because they lost their biggest rival. I think Texas Tech could, in theory, be a little upset because they lost Texas. But I think overall, I think the moves going in are going to be very good for the Big 12. I like Utah. I like Colorado. I like Arizona and Arizona State. I think Arizona State's going to have a struggle bus of a season, though, going into this season. And if you want my honest opinion, which conference hurt the most from conference realignment? Pac-12.
Oh, that's like a given, though. There's, what, 4 teams left? 2 teams?
I also think the Big Ten might be kind of hurting because they just got a lot. They got a lot stouter.
Yeah, but doesn't that help you down the road in your schedule?
It does, but you also got to look at teams that were like let's pick Michigan State.
Yeah.
Michigan State's a normally middle of the road team. They're not out of any game. They've been bad the last few seasons, but now they're going into a conference season. You got Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA.
If I'm being honest, I have them as one of the most hurt teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to struggle because that's a lot of new. It's a lot of new.
Yeah. Think about it. Like, I understand some of the Big Ten teams, in the past, going to them places in the 90s and the early 2000s. It was a struggle to go to, Northwestern back in the day. And now you look at them and they're a subpar 500 team.
I think if you want my honest opinion, I think if Northwestern had been good for the past few seasons, and this year they're going to be playing in Soldier Fields in Chicago.
Yep.
Because their stadium is being renovated for the next 2 seasons. I think I would rather go to Soldier Fields and play Northwestern against anybody than I would go to KU and play them in Arrowhead.
Fair enough.
Because Arrowhead is a rock and rolling stadium.
100%.
But who do you think is going to struggle the most in the Big 12?
Struggled the most in the Big 12? I think Arizona State.
I think it's pretty given. They're not. I got them honestly finishing last or second to last in the division.
Like in the Pac-12, that's basically an air raid conference, right? They do run the ball, but they don't run nearly as heavily as the Big 10 or the Big 12. Let's just be honest.
The Big 12 is more of like a spread offense, to where it's a lot of like wildcat and that. The Pac-12 is very much throw the ball down the field. I'd say the ACC is also kind of like that, but I think the Big Ten and SEC is run the ball down your throat.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And it's having big defensive line, big linebackers, tall, fast cornerback. It's just hit you in the mouth, run the ball down your throat.
The team that I think that's probably going to gain the most benefit out of all of this in the Big 12, obviously.
I got a big answer real quick. Well, you go.
Probably Colorado.
No.
I think so.
Utah.
I don't think so.
I got Utah winning the Big 12.
Yeah, but the most to gain. Think 5 years down the line.
Honestly,
Think about Utah without Cam Rising.
I feel like at that point it's kind of like at the same thing of where Utah has been a perennial powerhouse for the past 10, 15 years. So it's like KU in basketball. You don't regroup, you reload.
Yeah.
And they're going to have, I don't think they're going to have any problems. And they might actually be able to do better since they're going to be playing teams in Texas. They might have a better portal to get players from high school in that such game. Because you're going to be able to have your rivals in Texas, California, Utah, Nevada, all of those places because they want those pipeline states.
I still got to go. Colorado has probably the most to gain out of joining the Big 12.
Well, yeah, they do too bad for a few years. They fired Deion Sanders, and then they gained whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because honestly, hot take here, I think Deion Sanders is holding the Colorado Buffaloes back.
I think he's holding them hostage.
I think he's holding them back. I think if he wanted to actually do well last year, he probably would have kept a lot of those people that were already on roster, knew somewhat of offense. But he goes in and redoes everything and then fucks it all up.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Fedor Sanders, great player.
great player, great kid.
Travis Hunter, great player.
But I do want to say this. I think Deion Sanders only took the Colorado job is because he knew that, his son has his last name, but he was playing for he wasn't playing for the correct team. He wasn't playing for a Power 5 team. And I think that's why Deion Sanders took that job. And I really feel for the Colorado fan base who are putting their faith into Deion Sanders for what, 2 years, 3 years?
But hear me out here. The people up in Boulder are probably too high to realize anything's going on anyway because,
Fair enough.
we know. But I just don't see, like, outside of Denver, I don't see Colorado as a big football state. I don't. I just don't. I see him as more of like, fuck with your mic again. I find him more of like a basketball state. With the recent success from the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah. I also think that another team that could be helped by joining the Big 12,
16.
Big 16, the Big 12 is obviously Arizona. Now here's why I say that. Arizona took so much flack over the course of the last probably 7, 8, 9 years. It's almost a decade of mediocrity. And within that decade of mediocrity, they did have kind of like a scandal, but not a scandal. They turned themselves in. They took their recruiting violations, and they did everything they were supposed to. And I don't know if you know this, but the NCAA website put out a thing about that at the beginning or in the middle of June that said for schools that are under investigation by the NCAA, look at Arizona and look at how exemplary they held themselves to a higher standard. They gave over all their records. They fired all the individuals that were a part of said scandal. And I think that right there was a jab at Michigan. But as a team coming into the Big 12, I think that they have probably the most to gain. Think about it. You're going into a semi-prestigious conference.
You're leaving a dying conference. You're leaving.
But the conference has been dying for 10 years, man.
The Pac-12 has been dying ever since they. honestly, since they added Colorado.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
added Colorado back in what, 2010, 2009?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then ever since then, you just had like USC used to be a perennial powerhouse. You had Oregon. Oregon and Washington have always been the outliers. But they're gone. You had Stanford that was a powerhouse. And then somehow they just fizzled out.
Pete Carroll. That happened right after Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll played at USC though.
Or not? Oh yeah. My bad. That was not. That was a John Harbaugh. Yeah, that was my bad. Brain fart.
It happens.
Yeah. But no. Yeah, John Harbaugh. He leaves a college team that was doing so well in football, and then takes a head coach at Baltimore.
Where he won the Super Bowl.
I understand that, but
And he won 2?
I think he did win 2.
Because they won. No, I think it's just the one. Because he won one with Joe Flacco.
Oh yeah.
And he wasn't there when they won against. Because I think Baltimore has 2 total.
Yeah.
And I don't think, hot take here, I don't think they're going to win another one. Not with Lamar Jackson.
Well,
Lamar Jackson's a fantastic quarterback. I just don't think he's the guy.
he doesn't have the offense that's around him in Baltimore isn't the kind of offense that he's used to running, and it's hard for a quarterback with his skill set to be like, okay, now I need to do this. Now I need to train my body to work differently, and I think that's what he needs to leave.
I think he probably have a better skill set in like
Miami.
Or I don't know.
At this point, I'd like to see him down in New Orleans.
I think he'd do well in New Orleans, but they'd probably make him be like a Taysom Hill where he's a wildcat, and he's like, oh, you're gonna go out as the X receiver. Like, you're gonna play slot today. You're gonna do this. You can do it.
Yeah, he with his athleticism, he could probably play anything on except for the defensive line with his athleticism.
Honestly, with Lamar Jackson, I know we went off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think if he stays healthy, I think he can be a Hall of Famer. If he can stay healthy, which is a big if. Because he has not shown a track record for being the most healthy person. Same thing with Joe Burrow. You look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, the Bengals are like winning. When he's not healthy, they, except for last year, kind of struggle. Jake Browning played at University of Washington, transfer portal team, Big Ten, good transition.
Mm-hmm.
Played very well for him. With that transition, we're going to talk about the Big Ten.
All right, the Big Ten. The teams coming into the Big Ten, we got Washington, USC, Oregon, and UCLA. My team that I have struggling the most is Michigan State. I think Michigan State has the most to lose from this, other than so the last team other than Nebraska, I don't think another team joined with Nebraska, right?
Maryland.
Oh, Maryland. So
And Rutgers.
other than Nebraska, Maryland, and Rutgers, the last team before them to join the Big Ten was Penn State. The team before them, Michigan State.
Really?
Yeah.
The Spartans.
Yeah, the Spartans, and this is why I think that they have the most to lose. You're gaining Washington, playoff team.
Rebuilding.
Yeah, but playoff team. USC,
Rebuilding.
playoff team. UCLA, rebuilding.
Rebuilding. Oregon.
Playoff team. Like you're gonna sit there and tell me that a Michigan State who struggles to become 500 isn't gonna struggle against those 4 teams?
Yeah, but even with them struggling, it's Michigan State that we're talking about here. There is no way in hell that they are leaving the Big Ten.
No. I'm not saying that they're gonna leave the Big Ten.
I'm not saying they are either, but I'm just saying, even if they're bad, they're staying. Now, if you're talking about getting rid of some schools,
Northwestern.
yeah, I got the Chicago market.
Yeah, but Northwestern.
I was going to say Purdue.
No. Purdue's
Purdue or Indiana, if both
Indiana.
of those teams left, they would make more sense in the Big 12.
Okay, in my opinion, Indiana and Purdue would do well in like the MAC or the Sun Belt.
You know, I read an article the other day talking about Big 10 teams transferring into the Big 10. You know, one of the big ones they had on there? KU.
That doesn't surprise me.
And hear me out here. If KU transfers into the Big 10, you get a huge jump in your basketball program.
Baseball too.
Yeah. Baseball and basketball, because KU is pretty decent at baseball, and they are nationally ranked normally in the top 5 in basketball. You add that into a conference that used to be prestigious. That's what I saw. It said prodigious. That's not what I wanted.
Prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation. And basketball. The child demands a goodnight kiss, Daniel.
All right.
We'll be right back. I'm gonna keep rambling.
Yeah, keep rambling.
All by myself. I give the child a goodnight kiss. Oh. No, but I'm here by myself for a second, so I can say anything I want, but I won't. KU going in, decent football team, top 25 football team, decent, if not good, baseball team, top 5 in basketball every year. That's an immediate boost to the Big Ten. That is an immediate boost because KU is also no slouch in the academic programs. They have I don't know if every state or every school has a university ran hospital, but I do know that KU has a university ran hospital, and they are nationally ranked as one of the better hospitals, especially in the Kansas City metro area. They probably are the best hospital in the Kansas City metro area, but I think that KU would make a good solid team going into the Big Ten.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
I also think if KU goes to the Big Ten, I have a couple other schools.
K-State?
No. K-State goes to the SEC.
Really?
Yeah, I have K-State going to the SEC. They just fit more down there. Football school, not a basketball school. Football school. Same thing with when Mizzou went to SEC. Makes more sense. Football school, not a basketball school.
Yeah.
Big Ten makes more sense for KU. But if they go, I do have one little. I have 3 schools that I'd have going to the Big Ten if there's a new conference realignment. KU is one of them. That's not my 3. Duke.
To the Big Ten?
To the Big Ten. Hear me out. Basketball school. What's the biggest grossing sport in college is football. The second is basketball, and they're pretty close. But you can't fit 100,000 people in a basketball stadium. It just doesn't work. You can't see the people.
I think it's just build a basketball stadium that's removable so they can have outside games during the night.
Someone's going to take a 3-point shot, the wind's going to blow too much, and then someone's going to cry on the sideline. I know it's not your problem, but I'm just saying.
Where there's no risk, no reward.
You're going to have, what's the head coach for basketball for Michigan State? The really angry looking dude. He always looks like he's about to fucking have a brain aneurysm or something.
I can't. I'm not a basketball guy.
It's like Tom Izzo. I want to say Tom is. I want to say that's who it is. Tom Izzo. I know things. But I have Duke, Kentucky, Mizzou.
I don't think so.
It makes more sense to expand down than it does to expand to the West Coast.
Here's my problem with Mizzou joining the Big Ten.
The only reason I'd have them joining the Big Ten is because KU'd be going. And that rivalry needs
The
to be
I-70
restarted.
rivalry.
It's not even I-70. I think it's like 150. It's Columbia.
Columbia's right off 70.
You're up 70.
I know.
Lawrence isn't.
No, it's not. But no, I don't think it. Mizzou joining the SEC. Now that they're getting their footing,
I also could see KU joining the SEC.
I don't.
Either SEC or Big Ten both make sense.
Big Ten makes more sense than
Big
SEC.
Ten makes more sense, but the SEC also makes sense.
The SEC doesn't have anything to offer them.
Honestly, I don't think them leaving. I don't think they'll ever leave, just because how much the Big 12's paying them.
Fair.
They make a lot of money.
They do.
The Big 12 conference.
So we did the Big 12 and the Big 10. Started off. Who loses out the most in conference realignment in the SEC?
Oklahoma.
Ooh, you're going with a newcomer.
Oklahoma. Because I would say who has the most to lose would be my most at gain would be Vanderbilt. Because Vanderbilt was a dumpster fire last year, as they have been.
And the year before. And the year before.
The year before. So they have nothing else to lose. They go 0-12, and no one's going to be like, oh, it's Vanderbilt.
We didn't expect anything more.
But when Oklahoma goes into the SEC and wins 6 games, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, it's going to be chaos in Norman, and I love it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I still hate you, Baker Mayfield, if you're watching. I know you're not, but I still hate you.
Um,
Trying to plant a flag in Ohio State Stadium
yeah. What's funny is
with your bandana.
What's funny is he didn't have the intelligence to know that you can't plant a flag there because it's turf. It's not natural grass stadium. He tried to plant it. That's why it fell over. So he doesn't have the intelligence that God gave a pissant when it comes to trying to plant a flag in the middle of a field.
And when he flipped off all of the fans in Lawrence and KU, which is what made that game when KU upset Oklahoma last year in Lawrence in the rain so much better.
Yeah. My team in the SEC that has the most to lose is Florida.
Florida?
I think so. Because we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Their schedule this year. Now add Texas, Oklahoma. They already added Texas this year. They have to play Texas this year. Now add Oklahoma. You know as well as I do, going to Oklahoma and playing there, it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, but you don't think of like Oklahoma when you think of like
Toughest places to play.
no. You know what you think of? Florida. The swamp.
Nah. Just because
2008.
your fucking
San
stadium
Diego.
no, just because your fucking stadium has a stupid ass nickname doesn't mean it's a hard place to play. Look at the Big House. That's a place. That's a tough place to play.
And it was ranked at 16 on the top 25 toughest places to play.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think was it Gaylord?
Tennessee Stadium?
No. It's Oklahoma. It's like Gaylord something.
Yeah, Memorial Stadium.
In Oklahoma, I think that was ranked higher. I'd rather go play in Oklahoma than I would Michigan.
But like I said, you have a stupid nickname for your stadium doesn't mean it's a tough place to play. The Swamp.
Death Valley.
Well, that is actually a tough place to play.
Happy Valley.
Yeah, Happy Valley is a tough place to play. Home of the 12th man. Every
Number one.
yeah, number one toughest place to play is Texas A&M. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When was the last time they won every single one of their home games in 1 year?
Let's find out.
I think you have to go back all the way to 2017 or 2016 to where they won every single one of their home games. But I think Florida 100% has the most to lose by adding Oklahoma and Texas into the fray of the SEC. Their schedule this year is horrible. We'll find out if it's going to be tough for them in, I think it's week 7 when Florida has to play at Texas. So
I hate their website. 12thman.com.
yeah, just because, like I said, just because your stadium has a stupid fucking nickname doesn't mean that you're going to succeed in the SEC. that prove that. Jimbo Fisher went down there. He beat how many SEC teams did Jimbo Fisher beat as the head coach at Texas A&M?
You know, the first season was in 1894. They went 1-1.
Yeah, they're one of the oldest college football programs. One of the oldest in the nation. I know Harvard.
I cannot find anything about their home games. There's nothing on Google.
I wonder why, if it's because they're embarrassed, maybe.
No, I'm not gonna go say here. I'm not gonna say that Texas A&M is not a hard place to play. Kyle Fields is a very big, daunting stadium.
It is.
Any given Saturday, any team can go in there and lose. But I still think one of my favorite moments of the last few years is when Tennessee beat Alabama in Tennessee, and all their fans rushed the field and then stole the goalpost. And
I also love that. But flip it around. I do also love that Texas A&M beat Alabama at Texas A&M at Kyle Field.
a really funny one. I don't know if you knew this. So when KU upset Oklahoma last year in Lawrence, the fans grabbed the goalpost and threw it into the lake behind the stadium.
I did not know that.
Yep, that happened. Is your mic muted, by the way? I'm just trying to. We're doing mic check real quick. Sorry.
Nope.
Let's talk about ACC.
Hold on. Who has the most to gain out of the SEC?
Texas.
Okay. Who's your number 2 that has the most gain?
LSU.
Okay. I could actually live with those 2 answers.
Honestly, who has the most to gain? I just thought the most to lose this year. Then I'm thinking about it. Alabama.
Kellen DeBoer coming in, new coach, new system rebuilding. And then I seen what's his name? Nick Saban. I saw Nick Saban's salary that Alabama's going to continue paying him as a consultor.
A lot.
$846,000 a year.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
More than I make.
Way more than I make. And that's why we're doing a podcast.
That's why we're doing a podcast. No, we're not. That's not what we're doing.
No, we don't do the podcast for money. We do it so that we can just talk and let everybody know that we have.
Fuck Michigan.
Yeah, fuck Michigan. Fuck LSU. No, I got some buddies that
KJ?
No, yeah, KJ, yeah, he's an LSU fan, I believe. He's an LSU fan or an Alabama fan. But I want to shout out to my boy KJ Too Smooth. Love you, brother.
I got some really good friends that are big Alabama fans. I got I haven't done anything with my Discord yet or talked about this with my friends. Freight Train, huge Alabama fan. Anytime he gets me, he sends me memes about Ohio State things. There was like a wine decanter and it looked like cock and balls. It said Ohio State on it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he just gives me shit. And then I got a buddy, Farmel King. Man loves his tractors. And Alabama football. He lives in Kentucky, though.
They also love tractors.
He likes tractors. He has like 12 tractors.
All right, so since you mentioned it a couple minutes ago, who's your team to gain the most out of the SEC or out of the ACC?
Miami.
Okay, explain.
No.
What's the reason, Jacob?
Miami. Go Hurricanes.
Okay, number 2 team that has the most to gain.
Boston College.
I think I just feel like you're naming Boston or naming the ACC teams.
No, probably the most to gain, the second team. I do think Miami has a legitimate chance to gain. They fielded a pretty solid team last year, to be fair. I think they have with how the ACC's trending, I think they have every right to be able to be in that. I think FSU is going to have the most to lose, and Clemson, just because they're trying to get out. So what's the best way to get out is to tank.
Well, so talking about the implosion of the ACC, right? So there was,
who has most to gain? SMU.
oh, for
The
sure.
newest team. We're going into the next thing already. The newest team into the ACC effective July 1st. All of these actually were effective July 1st.
Yep. All the conference realignment teams that joined conferences this year, bless you, were effective on July 1st. So I'm with you on the SMU. But what happens with the ACC when they implode? Because somebody that is close to both sides of the argument, close to the schools that filed the complaint in court, and then close with the ACC, said that news is coming in July. And it is July 7th, and we still have no news on anything regarding how they're going to pay $500 million each to leave.
That's fair. Honestly, here's what I think ends up happening. I think enough teams are unhappy, and they're going to see this, and they're seeing all this conference realignment. I think the ACC folds, and they move their teams into the SEC, Big 10, and Big 12.
And then who do you pick up? I think like East Carolina.
I think that at that point, you have a Pac-12 situation where there's a year where there's only like SMU and Boston College, and then like one other
Syracuse.
Syracuse, yeah.
Well, you think about it. You could also add like East Carolina, Coastal Carolina,
And I think that's what happens. I think
and they start picking up these smaller FBS schools.
I think they absorb the either the MAC
Marshall.
and the MAC
No.
or Conference USA, which is East Carolina, Middle Tennessee, all of those.
Memphis?
Memphis, yep. It's Conference USA. They absorb that into the ACC because they're Atlantic Coast adjacent,
Yeah.
with a few outliers. And I think the same thing happens with the Pac-12. I think they absorb the Mountain West Conference. It just makes sense because you're going to have Boise State,
Yeah.
Idaho, which is one of the original founding members of the Pac-12,
Wyoming?
Wyoming, Hawaii.
Hawaii? Yeah.
Makes sense with that.
San Diego State?
San Diego State.
Doesn't Nevada and UNLV? Yeah. So
That makes sense to me. Absorb that one.
just absorb all of the Mountain West.
All the Mountain West.
How many teams are in Mountain West? 12?
Colorado State, too.
Yeah. Colorado State would be absorbed into the Pac, the new Pac-12. Anytime we refer to the Pac-12, it's always the new Pac-12.
Always the new Pac-12. I think what honestly is going to end up happening down the line is that it's going to stop being a conference thing. I think we're moving to not being in a conference. Or what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to put their foot down and go, no, you can't have 25 teams in a conference. It doesn't make it fair for everybody else.
Can I interject?
1 second. Let me
Go ahead.
And they're going to make it to where it's like Big 10 North, Big 10 South. Those are two separate conferences. And then whoever wins that conference, it'll be like a division, give or take. Those two play for the Big 10 title. Same thing with Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, ACC. You absorb all these little tiny schools, but they won't do it to everything because who wants New Mexico State, the Aggies? Who wants Akron? Who wants Akron?
Toledo.
Who wants
Bowling Green.
Miami of Ohio? Troy makes sense to move. Some of the teams make sense to move. Boise State definitely makes sense to move to a big conference. What's the best way to move them to a big conference? Move your entire conference to a former big conference.
Oh, ULM.
Louisiana Monroe?
Yeah.
I can see it.
Troy.
SEC.
Troy.
Those are two very solid. Those are Southern teams. SEC.
Tulane.
Mean Green.
Yeah. I want to interject.
They're rowing the boat.
They're rowing the boat. I want to interject because I think what happens when the NCAA starts saying, hey, you can't do this or hey, you can't do that? Is it going to be a situation of the Big Ten and the SEC says, go fuck yourself? We're just going to take all of our schools and we'll go play over here with our ball. And we'll have a national championship, and your national championship's not going to matter.
You know something I just thought about? Have you heard the news of the, speaking of something like that, the new NIL deals? People who used to play college football, basketball, baseball are going back and suing the NCAA for not being on the NIL. You know what I think that's going to do? Kill college football 25, and I'm going to be pissed, and I will fight Mario Chalmers in the parking lot.
No. The game has less than a week to come. Well,
The
10
next year.
10 days.
There's enough people are going to bitch that all these people are getting paid. I think they need to make a big line in the sand and say no.
They went back 10 years.
Did they?
Yeah, they went back 10 years.
Well, how do you justify that? You're like, oh, AJ McCarron, here's $2 million.
No, it's gonna be a certain percentage.
Oh. I did not know that.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud, I believe, got a check for like $316, and then you know what he did with it?
But NCAA 25.
No, he donated it to the General Scholarship Fund of Ohio State.
Along with another $10 million.
I think it was 2.
Was it really?
I think it was 1 or 2 million is what he donated. They won't give specifics, but everybody said it was 7 figures.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
And that's how you become a class act on the field.
yeah,
Because you know who won't do that shit? J.J. McCarthy.
yeah. You know who else won't do that shit?
Any random person from Colorado.
Cam Newton.
Yeah, but he broke his foot in the flag football game. He needs all those weird fancy hats.
So my teams that are, I think, in the ACC that's going to gain the most, is going to be Boston College.
You're giving me shit.
No,
Pick it at school.
hear me out. I got Boston College, and I got Syracuse gaining the most. And here's why I say they're going to gain the most. I think with the implosion of the ACC imminent, I think Boston College and Syracuse are picked up by another conference, and that saves them. They have the most to gain out of all of this tomfoolery that's going on. The teams that I have losing the most are the teams you mentioned a minute ago, Florida State and Clemson. Those teams right there, if they are not picked up,
You're going to be in college football purgatory.
yeah, literally, it could be for years. Nobody wants to pick up a failing Dabo Sweeney. Nobody wants to pick up, well, I could think of a few conferences that would want to pick up a pissed off Florida State.
SEC, but then they got absolutely routed in that bowl game against Georgia.
Big 12.
See, honestly, hear me out here. I think when we did this video a few weeks ago, when we did our podcast about where we think teams would go hypothetically, I said Miami and another team that's in Florida. I don't think it was Florida State. That was in the ACC. I think it was Miami. Miami goes to the Big 12. It just makes sense to me. You got UCF, which is in
Big 12.
Central
Yep.
Florida.
Big 12.
You already have that pipeline. Just go play. I can see Florida State going in there, but realistically, I think a conference that makes more sense to me is the SEC.
Yeah.
Because you already have Florida.
Yeah, somebody is going to. Somebody's going to pick them up, and they're going to pick them up for cheap.
Mountain West Conference.
No, it's going to be Power 5. Well, Power 4.
Power 4.2 teams in the Pac-12.
Yeah. But yeah, like those are the two teams that I have winning. because, like I said, Syracuse and Boston College need an out, and I believe the Big Ten are perfect for both of those schools. I think you get the New York market and the Boston market.
They have good rotisserie chickens.
Fair. But I think that they have the most to gain. If you have to settle for something, why not settle for a conference realignment to a conference that actually wants you?
Or rotisserie chicken. Not a sponsor.
All right, so back to the second thing we're going to talk about today. How did SMU get into the ACC?
Witchcraft.
Wrongful death suit.
I don't. That one doesn't make any sense to me. They're in Texas.
Yeah. So
Southern Methodist University.
Yeah.
That's what SMU is.
Yep.
Going to ACC. That makes zero sense in my mind. Do you need another drink, by the way?
Yeah.
Another same one?
So we got University Park, Texas, with Rick Hart. Like this article is coming from the New York Times. It says Rick Hart typically doesn't let his emotions get too high or too low, but as SMU's athletic director looks out his office window, the excitement on his face is hard to miss. They made the announcement from Gerald J. Ford Simmons Field in Dallas a few mornings ago, and from the new end zone, he said that construction was wrapping up on the new field, and in September, Florida State will play on this field, and the Duke men's basketball team will visit campus next year and play against a coach that SMU hired away from USC. So I have been a big SMU fan forever, right? Big fan of SMU. That's Minnesota. But I feel that them joining the ACC or any other big conference is something that should have happened a long time ago. But for them to be going into a conference that's literally imploding on itself, and nobody knows what the next week, 10 days, hell, tomorrow holds. And I just feel like it's a little too late to make a difference. And when I mean a little too late to make a difference, like I said, you're joining the ACC, who's already imploding on itself. They have so many teams in court right now trying to leave. You got SMU coming in, and they're like, "Hey, we're the new kids in town," and they're like, "Hey, we're leaving."
You know what I think?
What's that?
The reason they picked up SMU? I think they've been talking about it.
Well, they've always wanted roots in Texas, always.
But I think the reason that they decided to talk about this right now is because they know the ACC is imploding. So what is the best possible way to kind of get everyone's attention off of that? You know, Florida State trying to leave, got all these other teams trying to leave. Then add a new team, and everyone's going to be like, why? What the fuck?
Yeah.
SMU?
Yeah. That crossed my mind, too. That really did. That crossed my mind. I was all like, when I read that article.
It's a diversion tactic.
Yeah. When I read that article, and we had just been talking about SMU a couple weeks ago on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, this is a bad one. Oh, God.
Sorry about that.
Oh, God. Oh, Sage.
But we were talking about this a couple weeks ago when we were like, you were like SMU. When I told them that they're going to be really good this year, and now they're joining the ACC.
They're going to have to play Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Oh, you know what?
Let's look at their schedule real quick.
Yeah, let's.
Daniel, pull it up on this screen that doesn't work. That'd be a good idea.
That would be a good idea to put it up there for everybody. Like I said, we're still in the early stages of our podcast. So
Our podcast.
yeah, our podcast.
Looks like I'm stealing his camera for a second. Hopefully the new mics do sound good. I know because I watch the videos too. Even though I'm here, I like to go back and see if anybody comments. The mics were not great.
All right, so we have SMU's football schedule. So, August 24th, they open up against Nevada.
Okay.
At Nevada.
Okay.
Then they got HCU.
Who?
HCU.
Who is that? Is that Howard?
They're an FCS school.
Oh, okay. Well, they're gonna win that.
Then they have BYU coming down to SMU.
Honestly, I got BYU losing that game.
Then TCU comes to town.
So why didn't they just join the Big 12? Because that's two Big 12 teams right off the rip.
Then they got Florida State.
Okay, that's. Is it in Florida State?
No, Florida.
Doesn't matter. They lose.
So it's all like their first game is an away game, and then there's next 1, 2, 3, 4 games are home games, and then they have to travel to Louisville.
Yep, that's a game.
Then they have to travel to Stanford.
Wait, did Stanford join the ACC? That makes almost no sense. Also,
Yeah. Then you got Duke.
that's a tie. That game ties.
Pittsburgh goes down to SMU.
That's a 27 overtime game.
Boston College goes down to SMU.
SMU gets blown out.
SMU goes to Virginia.
Yeah.
And then Cal. They finish at home with Cal.
That's a Big Ten, SEC, ACC.
No, Cal's in the ACC now.
They're in the ACC?
Stanford and Cal both joined the ACC. USC and UCLA joined the Big Ten.
For why?
I don't make the rules. We just have to follow them.
We just report on the rules that don't make any sense. It's like whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter and the rules don't either.
100%. So I see them possibly winning 7, 8 games. Possibly.
I for sure got them winning one.
The FCS school.
Yeah, hopefully in theory.
And I guess we just flip a coin on the Boston College game. I feel like the same you do. I think it's gonna be 27 overtimes. The game's not it's not gonna end until 3 a.m.
The next day.
Yeah.
Everyone's just gonna die of heat exhaustion, even though it's probably like 12 degrees outside.
Yeah. So with everything that we've talked about with that, SMU, good or bad for the ACC? Good. I have it good as well, but I think that they are one of the losers as well. Because
The ACC as a whole is a loser.
yeah, but I think that
This ain't basketball season.
yeah, fair enough. All right, so moving on into our segment,
Moving on to the next one.
talking about the total offenses and total defenses of last year.
I have not seen this list.
So this list, I'll just give you from 10 to 1. Starting at 10, we got USC. At 9, we got Texas. At 8, a surprise, UCF.
Really, they were terrible last year.
Top offense. Then you got North Carolina at 7, North Texas at 6.
The Mean Green.
The Mean Green. And then you got Georgia at 5, Liberty at 4,
Okay.
Oklahoma at 3,
Okay.
Oregon at 2,
That makes sense.
and LSU at 1.
That makes some sense. Okay, so two of those right off the rip don't play in a real conference. They don't count.
Yeah.
North Texas Liberty, no. So I would say who's 11 and 12.
11 and 12 is TCU at 11 and 12 at Washington.
So that's your top 10. Should be Power 5.
Mm.
You don't get to play cupcakes all season and be like, oh, we have the fourth best offense in the league. No.
So you're gonna
Who? Okay, you give me Liberty against Alabama. You think Liberty's gonna put up 50 points against Alabama? No.
but I guarantee they keep that game close.
Oh, the defense trash.
I haven't looked at the defenses
I
yet.
can't even read. It's an inside joke. I can't.
But to let you know, SMU's offense was number 16. We were just talking about number 16 offense in the nation.
So right off the rip,
You know, do you know what team's not on that list?
Ohio State.
They won the national championship.
Well, Michigan didn't have an offense. They had a good defense.
Right.
They run the ball 50 times a game. Speaking of which, one of the new features in College Football 25 is if you run the ball too much, your running back gets fatigued. So don't do that.
Wear and tear system.
Wear and tear, BB.
So let's talk about the top 10 real fast. We got Southern California. 13 games played. Their offense played 823 plays, 6,079 yards, which is an average of 7.39 yards a play, and they had 70 offensive touchdowns.
I mean, to be fair,
Caleb Williams,
they had the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah. And their average yards per game was 467.6 yards per game. You're seeing these stats for the first time, just like I am. We'll go to number 9, Texas, Quinn Ewers, which was.
I just think that it's crazy because nobody else has the same amount of snaps, even close, until you get to SMU.
Yeah.
Than Texas.
Yeah. SMU has 1,020 snaps. Texas has 1,002.
The next closest in the top 10 is 974. Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know if it means they don't have a defense or they're just out on the field all the time.
So Texas, 14 games played because they played in the college football playoff. They have 1,002 plays, 6,685 yards, an average of 6.67 yards per play. They scored 54 offensive touchdowns, and they had 477.5 yards per game.
Okay. Real quick gripe here.
Yeah.
How do you only have 600 more yards and 16 less touchdowns, and you're somehow above USC? Offense means offense. That means touchdowns. That doesn't mean just yards. You can have 1,000 yards a game and score 0 points.
Yeah, 100%.
It won't happen, but you could, in theory. I don't like that pick. I don't like this list already.
You want to take number 8?
Number 8, we have University of Central Florida. They played 13 games, 895 snaps, 6,331 yards, which equates to about a 7.07 yard per play average. They scored 52 touchdowns and had 487 yards of offense per game.
Surprising.
But they also had a dog shit season.
Surprising, though. Surprising that somebody that has a dog shit season in the top 10.
And at number 7, we have another top 5 quarterback drafted offense ran. North Carolina at 7. They played 13 games, 958 snaps, 6,386 yards of offense, which equates to about a 6.67 yards per play, 54 yards, 54 touchdowns, and 491.2 yards per game.
All right, with number 6, we got North Texas. They played 12 games, 911 snaps, 5,950 yards. It's 6.53 yards per play, 52 offensive touchdowns, and 495.8 yards per game.
Oh, I know how they're doing this list now. It's yards per game.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything else to do. So again, like North Texas last year was competitive, but
In their conference.
ain't no Georgia.
Fair. Who is not in the well, no, they are in the top 5.
They're literally your
Yep, next one. Georgia, number 5, played 14 games, 958 plays, 6,951 yards, 7.26 yards per play, 69 touchdowns, nice, and 496.5 yards a game. I feel that that's on par for the Georgia team last year. Had they not lost to Alabama, they probably have a national title.
Another one.
Yeah.
And moving on, we're going to number 4, Liberty. Had 14 games and 973 offensive snaps, 6,988 yards, nice, 7.18 yards per play, 71 touchdowns. I think that's the highest number we've seen so far.
Yeah.
So far. And averaged 499.1 yards a game. That's nuts.
Yeah. At number 3, we got Oklahoma. Played 13 games, 974 snaps, 6,591 yards, 6.77 yards of play, 66 touchdowns, and 507 yards per game.
And at number 2, which based off these numbers I'm about to read to you, this should be number 1. You cannot tell me otherwise. I understand that the next team up had more yards per game, but offensively, these numbers are bonkers. Oregon, number 2, 14 games played, 951 snaps, 7,440 yards of offense. That equates to 7.82 yards per game. That's a lot of yards per game. But the really staggering number is 82 offensive touchdowns. 82. That's the highest on this list by a decent amount. That's a game's worth of touchdowns.
Yeah.
With an average of 531.4 yards per game.
Okay. Before I read the number 1, I want to put together the number 1 team that had the number 1 offense last year played one less game, 110 less snaps, had 400 yards less than the number 2, had an 8.40 yards per play, scored
4 less.
4 less touchdowns, and had 543.5 yards a game. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. They had 110 snaps less than Oregon. 110 snaps less.
You have an Oregon in another game, they have another 110 snaps. Because their offense is always on the field, because their defense is so good.
Yeah. LSU, number 1.
I mean, we already said that, but...
Yeah. The top defenses of last year. So, starting with number 10, we got UCLA, 13 games played.
I see a very big, glaring conference.
Yeah. We'll get to that at the end of this.
In the top 10.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the
I
end of
think
this.
we should read these as we go, so the number 1's a surprise.
Yeah. UCLA, 13 games played. They played 846 snaps on defense. They only allowed 3,920 yards. They only averaged 4.63 yards a play, 21 offensive touchdowns, and they only allowed 25 opponent touchdowns. And they allowed 301.5 yards per game average to their opponent. UCLA. That is...
kind of shocking.
Yeah.
But they also, to be fair, had the first defensive player taken in the draft.
Fair.
To, the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Which, if I was the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, I probably would have taken him over Michael Penix Jr. Stupid pick. At number 9, we got Georgia. 14 games played. They had 848 defensive snaps they played. They allowed 404. My bad, I looked at that wrong. 4,047 yards for the season. That equates to about a 4.77 yards per play they allowed, which is pretty decent. Offensive touchdowns? Is that they allowed?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to read this. I don't want to mess this up. They allowed 26 touchdowns on their defense total. It looks like. Is it 26 and 26?
Yeah.
Off and then op.
I'm going to assume that that's offensive touchdowns and opponent touchdowns.
For a total of 289.1 yards allowed per game.
Number 8, Clemson, 13 games played, 797 snaps, 3,742 yards, 4.7 yards per play, 30 offensive touchdowns, and 34 opponent touchdowns, 287.8 yards per game.
Oh, I think it's like kick returns and...
Yeah, they're probably adding all of that.
That's probably what that means. Number 7, we have Iowa. The team has no offense, but
They also played 14 games.
very good team. They played the Big Ten championship, I believe, where they got smoked.
Yeah, they got sign stealing.
Played 14 games, 970 defensive plays because they don't have an offense, so their defense is always out there. They allowed 3,955 yards for the whole season, which equates to about 4.08 yards a game. They only gave up 18 touchdowns. But then you add, I think, the 2 kick returns or whatever. They gave an additional 20 opponent touchdowns for 282.5 yards a game. Iowa is always a stout defense.
Always. At number 6, we got Air Force. 13 games played, 738 snaps. They only allowed 3,610 yards over the course of the 13 games for a 4.89 average yard per play. 29 offensive touchdowns, 30 opponent touchdowns, 277.7 yards a game.
That's insane.
Yeah.
One team I actually watched play a game last year is next. Number 5 is Notre Dame. 13 games played, 809 defensive snaps. They allowed, I lost it. 3,592 yards of defense on their defense, which equates to about 4.44 repeating yards per play. They gave up 22 opponent touchdowns and 23 opponent touchdowns, allowing 276.3 yards per game per week.
Yeah. At number 4, we got Ohio. 13 games played, 738 snaps, 3,556 yards, equating to 4.82 yards per play. 23 offensive touchdowns, 24 opponent touchdowns, 273.5 yards per game.
And number 3, I'd want to put an asterisk on this one because the bowl game. But I digress. At number 3, we have the Ohio State University, playing 13 games, really 12. But in those 13 games, 828 plays, 3,450 yards of offense allowed on their defense, which equates to about a 4.17 yard per play that they allowed. Only allowed 15 touchdowns. That's that number, because the other one's 15 also, for an average of 265.4 yards per game.
Jim Knowles' defense is working. At number 2, which is no surprise here, Penn State. 13 games played, 774 snaps, 3,219 yards for 4.16 yards per play. And they are also 20 offensive touchdowns, 20 opponent touchdowns. They did not allow a kick return, I believe. I can't be sure about that.
We can neither confirm nor deny.
Right, which is 247.6 yards per game allowed to opposing offenses.
And at number 1, again, not really a shocker, but when you see how close these numbers are, what I'm going to tell you a little bit. Michigan, number 1, played 15 games, had 865 plays of defense, allowing 3,705 yards with an average yard per play of 4.28. They gave up 17 touchdowns and 17 to opponents. So I believe that means no kick returns or anything. They beat number 2 by 0.6 yards a game per average. They had averaged 247 yards of defense every game.
Had they not played that extra game or extra 2 games, Penn State would have, if they would have had the same games as Penn State would have had number 1 defense last year.
100%. But if you look at this list, one thing I like to point out.
Let's start at number 11. Start at number 11, go to 1, and then count them.
We'll go to 16.
Okay, go to 16.
16 Rutgers. That's one Big Ten school.
Number 11, Nebraska.
I said Big 12. Maybe Big 10. You got. I don't know if we're gonna count this one because they're not new to the.
Well, we'll count them. We'll count them. They're in the Big Ten.
Even though I'm putting an asterisk here. UCLA at number 10. Big Ten school.
Number 7, Iowa.
Big Ten school.
Number 3, 2, and 1, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan.
7 of the top 16 teams are all in the Big Ten. The next closest you have is
No one.
everyone has like
Well,
one.
you think about it like this: you got Ohio in the MAC, Notre Dame is an independent, Clemson is in the ACC.
You have Air Force is an independent.
Air Force is-
They're in the like the Mountain West or something.
Yeah. And then you have SMU in the ACC.
Oh, I guess ACC has 2.
Yeah, so,
Clemson and SMU.
and then you got Utah in the Big 12,
Troy
Troy,
is in the conference.
yep, and then South Alabama.
Also in the conference.
So 7 teams in the Big Ten. You just don't ever sit there and say that the Big Ten doesn't play defense.
Especially when you only have one SEC school.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go down the top 20, you have more. That's a whole ass list.
Yeah. All right. So,
You know what I think would be really funny I just thought about? This whole time your mic's not working.
what?
I'm gonna do a quick check. Alright, mine is working. Can you go down?
And mine is working.
Yours is on. Okay, cool. Just one, we should have done this an hour ago, but we waited until an hour and 6 minutes in.
That's all right.
Also, at this point, I'd like to, before we go to our last and final thing of today, unless we have any weird segues here, thank you guys for coming in and watching. Again, I am Jacob,
I'm Dan.
and this is Exiting the Huddle, about the podcast, with Dan and Jacob. We're diehard football fans. We cannot wait for the season to start. But the thing we really can't wait for is what we're going into now.
College football 25.
College football 25. Again, join our Discord. We're going to be doing an online dynasty. If you're one of the first people in here, I'm sure we could get you in. We're going to be doing. I know for a fact we're going to be doing non-Power 4 conference teams.
And then we're also going to do another dynasty with the new team builder teams.
The team builder teams, which is going to be a lot of fun. And one of the big things they released, the news this last week, was in fact has to do with dynasty teams.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into that.
So the first thing that we had a first look at the impact players. Right here it shows Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State. He's got shifty, sidestep, takeoff, 360, recoup, like
Chicken?
no recoup, like your recoup time on your injuries.
You know, if you put a chicken back in a coop.
That's rehome. Oh my gosh, I love doing a podcast with you, man.
Just an idiot. I'm the comic relief, and you were just like, no. You're the German of the group.
Oh no, I am the resident German. And then they talked about what's called.
That reminds me real quick. I gotta do this one. I gotta say that there was used to be when I was in college and I would do homework. I would listen to comedy, like clips and stuff on Spotify, or not Spotify, Pandora. And one that always popped up, and I always thought that really funny was Robin Williams. May he rest in peace. And one of them, he was doing an interview with some German people, and they go, "Why do you think the Germans aren't very funny?" He's like, "What do you think? We killed all the funny people?" And they looked at him stone faced and went, "No."
All right, back to college football 25.
Sorry, I had to do it.
So they got a what's called a new day in college football. So they actually postponed a little bit of releasing the game because they found out that the college football was going to a 12-team playoff.
It's going to a 14-team playoff in a few years.
Maybe.
I heard it is.
Maybe.
Eventually, it's just going to be like the.
It's just going to be the Big Ten and the SEC.
No, eventually it's just gonna be like they do in March Madness, where it's like the top 64 teams get in.
Dude, I would pay to see a 64 team playoff. And hear me out. Just put everybody's name in a hat. Well, no. You go by record.
Out of the top 25, Alabama.
Right.
Alabama State.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It just says like OU, but it doesn't say which one.
Fuck Michigan. So going from a 4-team to a 12-team playoff.
In their predictions on this, they have Oregon winning.
Yeah, they have.
Against Ohio State.
Yeah, they have Oregon and Ohio State going to the national championship. Oregon winning 42-20. I don't ever see that.
They also have Texas Tech winning the Big 12, and North Carolina State winning the ACC, and Ole Miss. I guess Ole Miss winning the SEC.
Is that?
That's yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's the Wolfpack.
They have the new top 25 rankings. So looks like on this screenshot that they have, Ohio State number 1, Alabama, USC, Georgia, Oregon, Iowa. Look, dude, just look at how many Big Ten teams are right there.
This would be a really good time to be able to have that on that.
Yeah, for real. I'm gonna work on that.
We'll come up with this coming up soon, because when College Football 25 comes out, we will be having on behind us during the games, during the podcast,
Our game of the week.
have our game of the week. If not, maybe my game of the week, your game of the week, because it might not be different.
Yeah.
You know, like who do we got, and then we'll have it playing in the background. Because honestly, 5-minute quarters on Sim, it's probably going to take it about 25 minutes to do a game.
Yeah.
So then we do one and then another one, and then if anything, we just do a random team.
Another thing that they're adding into College Football 25 that it wasn't in any of the previous ones were bowl projections. So you can start your season and you can go to the bowl projections, and then you can see based on analysis of the AI that's in there, this is where we think these two teams are going to play in a bowl game. And I'll give you let's just give the Rose, the Sugar, and the Fiesta. So the Rose Bowl, it says to be determined versus Oregon. So they know that at least Oregon's going to play in there, but because the Rose Bowl has a chance to host a group of 5, I'm going to assume you have to wait a couple weeks for those to fill in. And then another one is the Sugar Bowl, another to be determined versus Alabama. And then the Fiesta Bowl is another to be determined versus Boston College. But the ones that they do have filled out, so like the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Texas Tech versus Cal, like these are all things that you can see.
I can't wait, by the way, to win all the bowl trophies.
That I can't wait to win all the rivalry trophies.
First one I'm going for. KU Mizzou. First game I'm going.
Governor's Cup.
No, that's KU K-State.
Oh yeah.
It's the war drum.
The war drum.
The border war. My favorite rivalry in all of college sports. It has the coolest name. Because you have the game. The game is good too. But I don't think there's a trophy. Is there a trophy?
For
the game?
No, there's no trophy for the Ohio State and that team up north.
Well, fuck Michigan.
I really want to make one and then take it to both Ohio State and Michigan and be like, hey, I want you to play for this trophy. And
It's like a giant dick.
no, I want to make it like something in kin to the Vince Lombardi trophy.
It's just the city of
Just a map of the part of Ohio that Michigan tried to steal.
Akron.
Yeah.
It's just,
Or no, was it Akron or I think it was Akron.
It's just like the city. It's just LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's from Akron.
Just a face of LeBron James.
This is LeBron James fuck Michigan trophy. I didn't name it. I just give it to you. Like, didn't you make it? No, I didn't make it. I just gave it to you. Does it mean you named it? No. I just made it. And they'll be like, what kind of dog and pony show is this? And you're like, I don't know. Just take the trophy.
I just want you to lift it up. Whoever wins.
It's just Michigan wins. It says fuck Michigan.
Underneath. When they raise it up, they're like, he got me.
He got me again.
Speaking of conferences, in College Football 25, you're going to have custom conferences. So you're going to be able to pull teams out of one conference, put them in another, and vice versa. What was really funny is one of the screenshots from the trailer that was released on the deep dive about this had Florida State in the Big Ten. And then you'll have a new UI for your conference standings. Gives you a lot more information than previous college football games.
Hell yeah.
There it is, right there. There it is. Custom conferences. Look, who's in the Big Ten? Florida State.
Florida State.
And then scheduling. So they have already told us that any game that has been already scheduled out will not be able to be changed in your scheduling. So say this game came out 3 years ago. The Texas and Michigan game that's going to happen in week 2 would not, the computer will not allow you to reschedule that game and take that game off your schedule. You will have to play that. They have added the Michigan State and the Notre Dame games for, I believe, 2026, 2027 into that, and they said you're not going to be able to change those games as well. So they are doing this based off of real scheduling for college football teams.
One of the things I really think is very interesting about this whole game and situation and situation. Sorry, I've been up all day. You are limited. You're capped on our online dynasty, regular dynasty, what have you. Because Road to Glory is obviously 5 seasons, top 5 seasons. Because somehow you can get redshirted, and then you have to play 4 seasons. You have to do it. Not unless you get transferred, but they, you know, yep.
Yeah.
In online dynasties, it's up to, I believe, 34 or 36 members.
32.
32 members.
The reason why they did that is because that's what Madden is. You know, 32 teams. But I can't wait for next year for crossplay. Crossplay Dynasty. You'll be able to crossplay 2 modes, I believe, and that will be the Play Now or exhibition games, and then you'll be able to play the new mode, Road to the College Football Playoff. I believe that's crossplay as well.
But on the Dynasty, you have a 30-season cap.
Yeah.
After 30 seasons, it is done. So that would be a very cool barometer of. So in one of our dynasties, we're doing a non-power 5 teams, like I said. Dan, who'd you go with?
Marshall.
Dan went with Marshall. I went with Boise State because everyone thought it was a Power 5 team.
Yeah. You might have to change that.
Why?
Because I think Froba might have called Boise State. So
I called it a long time ago.
I think he called it back in like January when they were talking about it. Well, we'll get to that. I'm gonna get on.
When I went Appalachian State.
They might be open. You wanna go Troy?
No.
Okay.
I wanted an annoying field, damn it. Give me Hawaii.
East Carolina. East Carolina's footballs.
Didn't somebody pick that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna.
AJ picked that?
No, I'm gonna get the teams that the boys have picked. But
I'm gonna be very upset because I've been like, I'm gonna play Boise State. I'm gonna be Boise State. Now I'm gonna be fucking Oregon State because they're not in the Power 5 conference technically.
technically,
Because there's 4.
technically, you can't. The whole thing was we didn't want big recruiting pipelines. because then you just get 5-star players at places like the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC, and stuff like that.
We could pick bad teams in those conferences. You are SMU.
You are Wake Forest. You are Vanderbilt.
Oh God, not Vanderbilt.
I think that'd be funny.
We should do one where you're a terrible team, or we build our own custom conference. And we go in the SEC. We take out all the bad teams and move us to the SEC. It's like, oh hey, you're Appalachian State in the SEC. You're playing Alabama and Florida and Kentucky and
I think the goal for our online dynasty with everybody is to make a custom conference, and I want to vote.
I've heard some of the new rules of these that eventually you can get asked to join another conference if you do really well. So say we all start in Conference USA or the MAC or any conference anyway. We make our own conference called Dick Farmers. And they win the Dick Farmers every year. And they're like, ACC's like, we'd like you to join the ACC.
I think we're gonna just tell everybody to not do that. We'll play our 30 years.
I'm excited for that. I'm just concerned of like people's schedules, and you guys are more free sometimes.
So I believe you're going to be able to play all of your games
Until you get to a team where you have to play another person.
Yeah. Well, no. I think you'll be able to play all of your games on your season, and then you just got to get with whoever you have to play that week, and then just schedule your games. Be like, hey, I'm going to be online this time. Blah blah blah. Meet me on here. We'll do our game, and then we'll get out of here. But me being able to work from home, I'm going to be playing that like probably nonstop for weeks.
I still go back randomly, and I have a copy of not college football, NCAA Football 14 for my Xbox 360, and I still play it. I remember, granted, hear me out here. I played KU. And I built KU up, and I won multiple, like 6 or 7 national championships in a row. I went through and I recruited them. I did all this other stuff, and I built that school up. And I did that several times. But my favorite mode in any sports game ever, well, I got 2. It's a tie. It's really close. MLB The Show has Road to the Show. I just really think it's cool because you get to start out in the minor leagues, you make your player, and you go through all the levels. And then MLB is kind of weird because they have a minor league system, so if you suck in the majors, you get called back down to the minors. And that's the same thing why I really liked back when they still had both games was Road to Glory. Because Road to Glory, you could go in, you could play all the high school games. They've taken that out since, and I'm sad. I just don't think it's going to feel as natural as recruiting, because you're just going to go in and be like, who do you want to play for? LSU? Cool. You're fourth string. You're like, okay. And then you sit behind the team the whole time. It's going to be like, okay, this is boring. But it used to be where you could... I had one player, and I remember this when I was in high school, because that's how long it's been since this game's been out. I made a wide receiver. I played for UConn, and his name was Zach Schizophrenia. Because I want to see how long I make the last name. Schizophrenia is pretty fucking long. I won 4 straight Heismans, 4 straight national championships with this kid. Did all the, like, because I kept calling for the ball. And I just run down the field and score a touchdown. I went in the draft, got drafted in the 4th round in Madden. I was a 99 overall player in college football. And then I went to the NFL draft, and I was a 68 overall player. I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I hope they fix that.
Me too.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
We're not going to be able to upload to Madden. Because of the NIL. Those players will go somewhere, and even after all the players that are in NIL and you're doing recruiting and stuff, still not going to be able to export to Madden.
No, but I'm talking about specifically Road to Glory.
Yeah.
Because that's you. Really?
From what everything's saying, you're not going to be able to upload anything to Madden.
Then why would they sell it as a bundle?
To get more people to pay more money for a less product. Let's just be honest. Madden hasn't been anything since 21.
I bought the MVP bundle because it seemed like it was a cheaper deal. Because I was hoping.
So we'll go over the team builder.
Maybe they'll talk about that next week, honestly, because they have a video coming out.
I got the updates for the end of the show for what's coming out next week for CFP.
Okay.
So let's talk about a little bit of Team Builder in Online Dynasty. It says Team Builder is back. You're going to be able to import up to 16 Team Builder teams in a private Online Dynasty. And it says your commissioner will need to replace existing FBS schools with the Team Builder teams that they want to add when setting up the dynasty. And including Team Builder schools is only available at the creation of the league and not after the league is started. So if we're playing a 30-year dynasty with our Team Builder teams, in some
Southern Louisiana with the Mud Dogs.
if somebody is wanting to join us in like year 5 or 6, they won't be able to join us. So those teams have to be added at creation. The Team Builder schools are only available at the creation of the league, and they can only be used in private online dynasties, and those dynasties will require a password on the league in order to access them. So
Shouldn't that be open already?
we are getting a little antsy, all of us at the college football community, because they haven't had any news other than that right there, what I just read, and that's directly from EA's website, on Team Builder itself. So it used to be on a website. You uploaded all your logos. You put your logos where you wanted them on your uniforms and stuff like that. Built your stadium. You're going to have 162 different styles of stadium to choose from, which is awesome.
I want a dome. I want to redo. I want to rebuild Idaho because they're not in this game.
Yeah. The Vandals?
Yeah, because they just dropped out of recently dropped out of the FBS. Now they're in the FCS.
Oh, they're going to run the table. Let's just be honest. They're going to run the table.
No, they were bad.
Yeah, they're bad for the FBS, but that's like saying, oh, yeah, Vanderbilt is a bad team. Let's go put them in the FCS. They still have quality players. But that pretty much wraps up the show for this week. Just remember, this week in College Football 25, tomorrow they will have the gameplay first look. On the 9th, College Ultimate Team reveal. So all of those College Ultimate Team bucks that you're going to get for the pre-order, they're going to tell you how much things should cost and all of that. On the 10th, they're going to launch the roster reveal, where you're going to be able to go in there and look at your favorite team's roster and see the ratings of everybody on your roster. And then on the 11th, on Thursday, they're doing a Road to Glory reveal.
Which is honestly the mode I am most hyped about personally. I always loved Road to Glory. I thought it was really cool because you could go in and you could be a linebacker, you could be a wide receiver, you could be a running back, you could be a quarterback. You can go play for your favorite teams or some teams that just had some dope-ass uniforms. Because I remember I would go play for Florida State because Florida State back then had a really cool blackout uniform.
In no way,
got a lot coming up.
and nowhere are we affiliated with EA at all. We just like to talk college football, but I do encourage you guys to tune into EA tomorrow. I believe it's 9 Eastern time.
The 8 Central,
6 Pacific,
6 Pacific, and 7
Mountain.
Mountain Time.
But yeah, like I said, we're in no way affiliated with EA, and we were just two college football guys who just love to talk college football, play college football video games. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out today. Again, if you haven't, I believe it'll be linked in the description below. Join our Discord, talk to us, come hang out. I think we're going to put a thing in there. If you got some college football or football memes or sports memes, post those. If you know anybody who, anything you guys would like us to talk about, I don't know where I was going with that first one. Anything you'd like to talk about, that's the easiest way to reach to us. Comments, you can always comment on the videos. Like the video, subscribe, share if you really want to, if you really enjoy the content. We're hoping that this week was better with the new mics. We're trying every week to improve on this. We want to make this something that people want to watch. We want to make this something people look forward to. It's every Sunday, unless shit happens, all throughout the college football season. So we got a lot coming up in the next few weeks. We got, I think the next month. Next month is the first game of the season.
Oh yeah. Next month starts the college football season off. I believe August 24th.
August 24th. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be a blast. We hope you can join us for this. And again, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This has been Exiting the Huddle with Dan and Jacob. I am Jacob.
I'm Dan.
You all have a good night.